I'll call this meeting to order of the Brawley City Council and successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency at our regular meeting of September the 20th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And roll call, please.
Minutes will reflect that all the council members are present.
Okay, invocation.
Let's all stand. Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are thankful to you this evening for your hand of protection that's been upon us. We are grateful for this opportunity to gather together to direct our city. We ask that you would give us wisdom. We thank you for the break that we've been able to have, and we ask that you would help us to get back on task and to be able to continue the business that is in front of us. We thank you for each person that's made an effort to be here tonight or to log in and watch the meeting. We ask that you would just help our proceedings this evening and watch over our city. I ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. A pledge of allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. If you could please join me, face the flag, right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, item number 1 on our agenda is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Number 2 is our public appearances and comments not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Is there anybody to come forth for public appearances that are not on the agenda? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you very much. So we'll move to item 2A, which is the introduction of Cattle Call Queens and update of the annual Cattle Call event presented by Dana Mendoza.
Good evening. How's everybody?
Good. Great.
Had a nice little break. My name is Dana Mendoza, and I have the absolute pleasure of being the president of the Brawley Cattle Call Queen Royalty Association. And the cool thing about my job, not only is sharing with the young ladies, is watching them bloom. And not only this year did we have an amazing court, but we have an amazing court coming in. We are having our horsemanship back at the cattle call, the big cattle call arena, provided we get it approved. We are going to have our coronation. I think at this point we're about 350 tickets sold to our annual coronation, which is big. And that is October, the horsemanship is October 7th and the coronation is October 8th. And that is at the St. Mary's Church in El Centro. At this moment, I would like to introduce the reigning young lady, and she's going to take care of the rest of the introductions for me, but I appreciate your time. So I'd like to call up Riley Locker.
Okay. All right.
Hello everyone, my name is Riley Locker, and I would like to introduce to you my court and the contestants for this year.
Come on up here, ladies. They're very cute.
Here, no.
What cuties.
You go first and then pull it down.
Hello everyone, my name is Savannah Hernandez. I am your 2021 Brawley Cattle Call Little Miss.
Hi everyone, my name is Emerson Brandt, and I am your 2021 Cattle Call Junior Queen.
Hello, sorry. Hello everyone, I am Harper Brandt, and I am running for your Brawley Cattle Call Junior Queen.
Hello everyone, my name is Reese Johnson, and I am running for a Brawley Cattle Call Little Miss.
Good evening, my name is Amaris Rothfleisch, and I am running for your 2022 Brawley Cattle Call Teen Queen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy Roper, and I am currently running to be your 2022 Brawley Cattle Call Queen.
Very nice. Let's have a round of applause.
I would like to thank you guys for your time and all the continued support.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
You
all
look
very
great. and
much. Yeah.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Very impressive.
Right?
Yeah. as always.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Can we get a picture before they leave? Yeah, please.
Would you like to take a
Yeah,
picture?
please.
Okay, you want to go down front?
Please.
It didn't happen, right? Unless we
Right?
get a picture.
If we don't get a picture,
Normally
it's,
we do, and it,
right? But you
I didn't
were,
know how much you have on your agenda.
Well, we
You want
have-
us
we have
to
stuff
get
on our
out of
agenda.
here, or-
We have time for a Kodak moment.
right?
Oh, okay, let's put Sam on the side, and then.
Let's
you
put
over
Sam
here.
outside.
I
Outside.
said on this side, Sam.
That was good.
And then you guys can all go to the, remember that? Right, we'll separate a little bit so that we can put someone in the back.
There we go.
There you go.
See, she's already taken charge. All right, let's take a picture. Everyone smile big.
Say rodeo.
All right, before you do, hold on, let's do a little selfie because we got
It's always this way. It never
to. All right, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3. All right, rolling there.
Okay.
Yeah, the AC, huh?
I think the AC's not
It's
working.
warm. It's warmer than it was at
You
that
guys freeze
SCSU
me
meeting
out, so
today.
then I wear a coat, so then you, no. you
It's
freeze me
tighter-
out. Now
tighter
you're
saving on
saving
utility
me.
bills again.
You're saving on utilities?
Can you, AC, can we get it?
And we appreciate it.
Put another quarter in. Quarter in. All right. Okay, so now we'll go
Thank you.
to item number
Thank you.
3 on the consent agenda. The consent agenda. Items are approved in one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Consent agenda approved. Okay. Then city manager report is item number 4.
Mayor, for the first part, I want to move down here so I can try to operate some of the
Sounds good.
PDFs here, show you how technically savvy I am. First, on the city manager's report, I want to discuss back, during the break sometime, Councilmember Castro requested staff to look into creating an ordinance or a resolution of some sort addressing stop signs and crosswalks around all the schools and parks, and look into a safe routes to school program. So what we did is we have the traffic safety committee that any street-related projects are vetted through staff. On that committee is most of all our departments. It would be police and fire, parks, building, planning, public works, and the city manager's office, Mr. Thomas Garcia sits on that as well. So what we did is we convened and we looked into what do we have now, where do we start? So what we came to find out, I came to find out, staff did know that we already have a safe routes to school plan that was done in 2016. It was funded by some Caltrans grants and ICTC, I believe.
Through SCAG,
Yeah. Were you sitting on ICTC at that time too, I think? Yeah.
Have been for about
Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah. So there's some good information there. So real briefly as it relates to the Safe Routes to School program, I'm just going to run through real quick what it looks like. And this is just, I'll just cover one of the schools, but it's every school in Brawley, every school, well, throughout the county, they went through and did some studies. So I guess, Mondo, you can work it for me, yeah. So what we got here is what they did, they had some workshops, went to every school with the key stakeholders, parents, superintendents, our Brawley staff. I think there's actually in the 300-page report, there's a picture of our former commander, Hauser, at one of the workshops, representatives from ICTZ, as you can see there. And they talked about what are the safety concerns as far as you can see on this one example for this one school, lack of crosswalk, speeding, no drop-offs or pickup zones, et cetera. And then they specified some certain locations that
that we need to address. So next, please. And right here is it's a map of bicyclist and pedestrian-involved crashes over a 5-year period. And it's hard to see there, but those little triangles, you can see what occurred in this area around Barbara Worth Junior High. And again, I'm rushing through this just to give an overview, but it's through all the schools in the city and throughout the county. Next, please. And here is the existing conditions and engineering recommendations on the most common routes that schools take. You'll see there's a little one there, and then there's a little circle there on Main Street, some areas of emphasis that we need to address at that time in 2016. Next. So, and this continues, it shows some existing, that is an example of Imperial Avenue, and I can't read with my glasses, D Street. And some proposed changes in there or necessary improvements. And again, each school is addressed right there, and this is an example of where it says we needed some crosswalks added and some other things there. And then finally, for each school, they had what they called a program plan, what they call the 3 E's, education, encouragement, and enforcement. On the enforcement piece, you can see speed traders, law enforcement, enforcement. We have currently started a traffic. What's the operation called, Chief? Operation?
Oh, yeah, we call it Operation Roadrunner.
Yeah, to address some of those speeding and running stop signs. Yeah. So that one we are addressing currently. So there is a plan, and it is from 2016, a very thorough plan. It's 300 pages and addresses each school. So we do have that. And then so the next step we did, we said, well, we need to see where we're at. Where's all the stop signs? Where's the crosswalks? What we have? So this map, if you can pull the map up, it's not going to translate real well on the big screen here, but staff went out and recorded everywhere we have that one there, Mondo. Man, I've got a headache. If you can make that bigger. So this is the north part of Brawley. You can see there's lots of stop signs, crosswalks currently, and we have that for each section of the town, for the city, what we have now. And now what we need to do is go back with staff and reference the report, see what additions we need to add. It's a work in progress there, Mr. Castro. But it's a lot of heavy lifting by staff to go out and acquire all this data. So.
Yeah, no, and I truly appreciate it. I know that I'm asking a lot of questions, me being the newest council member, but almost 2 years now. Time flies. And this work has been done, and now obviously we're in an implementation phase, which I didn't know about. So I do appreciate you guys going out and doing all this work. Again, I try to maintain good communication with staff, with yourself specifically. And this morning, I think I'm in a very unique position that I have 3 kids, 3 different levels of school, and I get to travel these routes when I'm in town daily, and I get to see the need. So a kid in high school, a kid in junior high, and a kid in elementary. This morning, I decided to take a tour out to Oakley School, which I don't get to do too often. I dropped off my kids and headed over there. And yeah, we know we have a plan, but we also know there's still a need. So, but I do appreciate all the hard work. I know there's stuff happening. I know there's stuff being implemented. And this is also a good update for the community as well, because they ask these questions, they come to us regularly, and the better that we communicate, the better it is. So thank you so much. Appreciate the hard work. And you and all the staff.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's it, I'm done.
And with respect to like safe routes for school, I did meet with David Salgado recently. He is the local representative for Southern California Association of Government, SCAG, and we met for a good hour and a half. He did drop off some safe routes to school signage, including banners and other things. I did bring them to city staff. But it might be a good opportunity for us to maybe have a presentation by David here at the City Council chambers to provide an update on safe routes to school and what the city has done with them in the past and what opportunities exist for us to work with them again. So that might be useful for everybody. And a refresher for all, but also another way to show that, these things are addressed. I know a lot of the work behind the scenes, even for council members, isn't always visible, but there is things that have been done. I think he can provide a lot of input with respect to some of the historical things that we've worked on too.
Absolutely, and I mean, just simple things like the need of working with, with the school districts, and like even improving the parking situation. I mean, this morning I saw a delivery truck blocking off most of the street there on B Street, which is part of the norm of what happens, right? But I mean, the only thing my argument is that I don't want us to be visiting this after we've, had something go wrong. And so it just, thank you, though. I think I appreciate the information and the update. And, knowledge is power. Now I know. And we'll keep working on this. So thank you so much.
There's work to be done, for sure.
Mr. Mayor, how many of these stop signs have you rolled on this year?
Well, I can tell you that I do not roll stop signs,
Right.
but I do notice a lot of Brawley residents do, and I think
Okay.
that's a problem. I
So-
see it almost
So
every
it's
day.
them, not you.
People do roll stop signs all the time. I'm a very conscientious driver, not when I was a teenager, but now.
All right.
And so I try to obey all the traffic. I notice people speed a lot down the streets in Brawley, and they run stop signs on an ongoing basis, and they also roll through them. I think if people, adults, will understand they need to slow down, and if they'll understand they need to stop for the stop signs at least briefly, I think we'll have a better, safer city for everybody, the children included. And it's evident out there, and I go by the schools and see what goes on there too. And we also need to educate the children about just stepping out into the street in front of cars, because that can be a problem also. And some do jaywalk, some do step out in front of cars without looking. And I always caution, young children, look before you cross.
I saw that happen today, Mr. Mayor. I'm like, there's a vehicle coming towards you, and they didn't bother to look. They think they have the right of way. I was like, against the vehicle, they're not going to win that battle. You know what I mean? I'm like,
But
good
they're
luck.
not going to win that.
Yeah.
So I would just caution everybody out there, drive safely.
Would agree.
Slow down a little bit, stop for the stop signs, and watch out for blind corners, because I noticed a few of those, and actually the city's corrected one for us, where they had to paint some red curbs, because people were parking up into the corner, right at the corner
can
where they
see.
block the stop signs, and they block the ability to see around when you're pulling out from stop signs in the city. And so we need to keep in mind all of those kind of things. Just try to keep everybody safe out there. I think that's all.
Good points, Mr. Mayor. You know, one thing I did see that I hadn't seen in a long time, aside from just rolling stop signs and people, I saw somebody littering. I was just appalled by that. They threw like a massive amount of trash out the window while they're driving. I'm like, what are you doing? Trash? I'm like, really?
It happens.
Is that still a thing? You know?
It shouldn't be, but it does happen.
But anyway, good point,
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor. And I was just teasing you. I know that you
Oh, I
don't
know
roll all the stop signs.
I obey everything. Yes.
I obey everything. Yeah, okay. You had me up until then.
Yeah, up until that comment. Anybody else in the council?
I did full-on run one of the stop signs on First Street. That we
We all
approved.
did.
Yeah.
What was going on?
I just forgot that it was. a new
I
stop
do
sign.
that too.
It happens initially, yeah.
I think we need to caution everybody, we're putting up a lot of new stop signs around the city. You'll see them out there. Just be aware of that, so try not to run them. It's very, very important. And we're also working on the trees blocking
Right,
stop signs
that was
around
the point I
city.
wanted to make. So there was a comment with respect to some of the stop signs that we placed on Cesar Chavez.
Yes.
And so the trees were blocking the stops, and, those are things that we have to consider too, because, they have to be visible for people to stop, but.
Absolutely.
good point.
And I'd also like to acknowledge the good work that the city manager is doing in Public Works with that. Those two stop signs there on First Street have done the job. Like, it was like a derby, like cars were just going fast, 40, 50 miles an hour was not unusual. Today I was driving it and I saw how cars stop. They don't have enough time to speed up. They stop again and they get to where they're going safely. That's good for people who use those parks. So thank you.
Tyler says, stop with the compliments.
You just want to raise, that's it, right?
Blisters from digging that hole.
I do think we need to take a look
Good
at
job,
Western.
man. Good job.
Western running down by the school and by Phil Swing and everything, because it does seem that people pick up a lot of speed there. When I'm going down that street, I noticed that. So I think we do need to take another look at that. There's been some requests for stop signs put in at different places there. I think we've been reluctant to do some of that, but we can take a look at it again, I think, since we're looking at all of this type of stuff. So, okay.
I do have some other items too.
Okay, go ahead.
Please. Mondo, the community cleanup. There we go. So, and did I see George? Yeah, there he is. George Taylor is here from Republic. So happily to announce on October 22nd, the fall cleanup for the City of Brawley residents, and at the location, if you notice, back at the Brawley Municipal Airport. Up there, you can see what you can bring and what you can't bring. I know pre-COVID, it was done regularly at the airport as opposed to going to the dump. So we're back to that. Thank you, George Taylor and team, for getting that back to normal for us. And we will be posting on social media and let everybody know about this. So it's October 22nd from 7 to 2 p.m.
Should be good. And we did fine tune that. Hopefully this time around as well, it makes it easier because there were long lines that people were waiting in. So I know we streamlined the process and it seemed to improve. So hopefully people get to dump their trash and unload. But we'll promote it. We need to help promote cleaning of our city.
And Sam, no ammunition.
No ammunition? No ammunition?
Got that.
Or radioactive materials.
Or radioactive materials, yeah.
And don't bring sheetrock either.
Sheetrock.
And then lastly, I would just like to take the opportunity, as we were all aware of the Hurricane K, I want to thank staff. We have a couple of firefighters here. We have, who do we got here? Firefighter Melendez and firefighter Espinoza here. I invited Public Works, Parks, and everybody that was involved that did so much during this hurricane, but surprisingly, they weren't all that excited about sitting through a council meeting, so they didn't.
Right.
They
I don't know why not.
respectfully declined to show
I
up.
don't see why
But
they wouldn't.
there was a lot of teamwork there, is what I want to stress, is Public Works, Parks, the fire, multiple staff out there in the rain, helping each other out, and it was great to see. We did a great job. Thomas here in the city manager's office, police chief and fire chief, everybody just came together and did a lot of good work, so I want to thank you all for that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 5, regular business. Item 5A is review and approve proposal by Gaffcon Incorporated for suitability and assessment review of Brawley's decommissioned water treatment plant for development, demolition costs, and required site improvements. Further authorize city manager to execute agreement with Gaffcon Incorporated for a not-to-exceed amount of $42,000, presented by Tyler Salcido, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you today for consideration is a review and study of the decommissioned water treatment plant site to determine its suitability for development and any costs associated with the demolition and required site improvements, environmental site assessments, etc. With us today, who I'll let explain in more detail the proposal, we have Brian Benso and Victor Nava from Gaffcon here to come up and present and answer any questions that the council may have on this potential item. So if you could please come up.
Thank you, Tyler, and good evening, council. Thank you for having me here this evening. Councilmember Namba, I am available for a selfie.
There you go.
For this presentation.
We
just to
did
let
it
you know.
earlier, you know.
Get on
Yeah.
there.
But I think,
We share the same hairstyle, so, and I commented on that earlier today. You know, Tyler was sitting there with us, and we had, who else was it? George was there?
George was
I
there.
said, you know, and I told Tyler, I said, hey, if you don't have the same hairstyle, you can't hang with us,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
but
well,
anyway.
I'm glad I crossed that threshold.
There you go, there you go.
So anyway,
We're trying to
look,
grow it out, though, like.
yeah,
Take it
I
easy
forgot
with
to
that.
shave today.
Take
so
it easy with that.
I'm a couple days behind you.
All right.
So we put together a proposal. We've been out here a number of times, meeting with Tyler, looking at this potential piece of property. And let me give you a little background on who we are as a company. We've been around for about 35 years. I've been associated with Gaffcon since 1994. I'm the Chief Development Officer, and what that means in my role is I handle all of our real estate advisory projects that we do for public agencies, all the real estate advisory projects that we do for nonprofits, as well as for other private developers around the southern U.S. We also spend a lot of time in our core business working with education clients. We are deeply steeped in doing large-scale education bond program management projects for clients such as LA Community College District, San Diego Community College District, Grossmont Community College District, and numerous other educational institutions around Southern California. In my role of Chief Development Officer for this particular project, one of the things we looked at was the prospect of what can the city potentially do with this piece of property. And so when we met with Tyler, I think the original intention was, can we come in and put together a P3 arrangement with the city of Brawley where we can come up with a strategy where we can help the city of Brawley execute on a P3 vision. And once we took a look at this, we told Tyler we certainly we could do that. But we felt that it was more important for us to at least create a framework and do a feasibility study on what can the city actually do with this piece of property. And so our intention with this proposal is simply to work with the city in an advisory capacity to help you study what is the feasibility, to look at the work that was done previously in 2007 and refresh that work product, and also look at what is the underlying value of the real estate in some type of a highest and best use scenario going forward. Once we have that data and once we have that information, then we'll go about putting together kind of a strategic plan and a work plan for how you go about attracting other development entities to come to the city of Brawley to deploy resources and capital to put forth the vision that ultimately comes out of that recommendation. So the proposal is really a three-step process. The first step is really the feasibility framework plan, where we're going to go out, we're going to look at the site, we're going to ask the city to engage a couple of technical consultants that are needed, predominantly around some of the environmental issues with the property to understand, are there any contaminants that need to be addressed and dealt with throughout the process, number one. And then we're also going to look at it from a market feasibility standpoint. So we're going to evaluate what can the market support in this community today. Is it residential housing? Is it retail? Is it some form of mixed use? Is it some form of supported housing? What is really the highest and best scenario for this particular location? Once we have that put together and that framework identified, then we will work into the second phase of this proposal, which is to really look at all the potential P3 opportunities that are out there in the marketplace today. So we will evaluate the potential for the property to go through a surplus sale process. We will evaluate the process for the city to do some form of a ground lease. We'll evaluate the process of the city doing some type of a participating ground lease. And then we'll also look at the prospect of some type of prospective leaseback scenario. So the idea is that we look at all different types of potential dispositions that could be available to the city of Brawley and provide you with some guidance and some recommendations going forward.
Just so all of council knows, too, there was a feasibility study. In fact, I forwarded it over to the city manager a couple of weeks back. It was performed in 2007. It was CDBG grant funded, and so it's actually very inclusive of what has been described right now. And so a lot of good information. I would encourage all of council to see that sooner than later. And so you'll see, and a lot of what has been described, for example, like the necessary entitlements, the existing land use, site location, all the other things that need to be considered are included in that feasibility study. And it's very inclusive of a lot of information. With respect to some of the, and we've used it because there have been developers that have been interested in developing there, and they've viewed it, of course. But with respect to tonight's decision, I would just encourage council to review that first before we move forward with anything else, just to see and get yourselves up to speed if you're not there yet. So that would just be my recommendation for everybody. That's just my own 2 cents.
Sir, have you had an opportunity to view that study?
Yes, we've taken a look at the study.
What would be different from this study versus?
Well, the study talks about what is the potential uses for the site, right? The study does not talk about how you get there.
Right.
And so what we're proposing is we're proposing a framework to help you understand how to execute upon a vision and execute upon a plan, regardless of what the proposed uses and the defined uses ultimately result from further studying. I believe, if memory serves me, I think that study had about 110 senior housing units in it. It had about 250,000 square foot of retail. It had a large bank that was being proposed at that location. And I forget exactly what the other uses were, but mostly mixed use at the end of the day.
It was.
Any other comments from?
Yeah, I would just, looking at Again, just viewing the, the backup and obviously the staff recommendation, there's no doubt that is one of the parts of the city that comes up, from citizens and whatnot time to time. I think we all acknowledge that. Can you just help color in, you're here, to kind of present along with the recommendation. I think you've differentiated a little bit of what maybe some of the gap of the study that was done back in '07, but I kind of agree with our Mayor Pro Tem. I did not trigger the thought to go back and look at that, but what else? I mean, aren't you, Gaffcon's a little bit, pretty extensive with what you guys have done in different various projects, including here in the Valley, right? Can you kind of just share more of the connectivity of where this can lead us? Sure. I mean, I think that's kind of the hope, right? That we're sort of selling here versus we do another study and then 10 years from now, we're going to do another study, right? Just that concern.
Yeah, so, look, we've worked with probably over 40 different public agencies throughout Southern California, to include, probably the largest project that I personally have worked on is the Port of San Diego redevelopment of Seaport Village. That is a project that we're currently working on. We are the developer. We won that project through a very competitive process internationally. We're in our 6th year of that project, and we're close to being approved to get into CEQA. Hopefully within the next 90 days. That project is a very similar project in that, even though it's a larger scale, and even though it's a project that is on public lands, it is a project that has significant infrastructure challenges, right? It's been a project that has been neglected by the port for 50 years. They've not put any money back into it. And so there are significant challenges with seawall improvements, environmental contaminations, environmental issues that have to be dealt with from a development standpoint. And so we've gone through the process of figuring out what is the right strategy and what's the highest and best use to get there. Other projects that we've worked on include, the Port of Los Angeles Master Plan. We spent 3 years working with LA to define a waterfront redevelopment for all of the bridge to breakwater waterfront in LA. And the genesis of that project was really the city of Los Angeles saying, hey, we don't have a waterfront. This port is viewed as a negative container port, and we don't have anywhere for our community to come and enjoy from an entertainment standpoint the waterfront. And so, that project we spent a lot of time with the community on that project, identifying what are the appropriate uses. We did that as a consultant. We did not do that as a developer. We had no intention of being a developer. And so throughout that process, we helped the city and the port define land uses, strategies, and financing mechanisms that gave them the ability to go out and attract P3 partners for that project. And most of that is being implemented as we speak today.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a key point, in making the potential relationship here for this particular project is really what goes beyond that. And clearly you guys have that, that network, if you will, and can potentially bring those kind of partners. And then I guess the only other thing I just want to point out, I'm happy to see the fact that we're addressing it because we have said this, and so I do laud our city manager and our staff for stepping up and engaging. And I think we met early on, maybe looking, trying to draw some attention to our city on some of these spots. So these are hard to develop spots in our city. So we need to do something. I really believe in the thought if something's not measured, it's not managed, right? In this case, in city administration, if we don't talk about it, then nothing's probably going to happen, right? So the fact that we're having the conversation, I think is a good thing. So I'm interested in seeing the next steps, but, back to our Mayor Pro Tem, even if we don't take a particular action tonight, I want to dive in and understand more than maybe what's here, in the backup with respect to the study. And know really kind of beyond that. So I wouldn't mind even having conversation and understanding that a little bit more. What's the next step?
Yeah, and to further embellish upon just what we're doing locally in the Valley, we, about a year ago, we purchased the old Ghost Hotel down in Imperial.
Yes.
And so we have been working with the city of Imperial on redevelopment strategies for that project. We are weeks away from getting our final permits to get that project underway. We've got a number of retail users that are excited about coming to that location, a number of LOIs that are in progress. We also are working with a local FQHC on a new healthcare component to that particular project. And we've had an office here for about the past year that we opened in support of that initiative and also in support of our goal and our objectives to be more involved in the Imperial Valley going forward. And so Victor Nava was a huge hire for us. He's got deep roots in the community. I've got some prior experience in the Imperial Valley because I did build the Villa Lara family apartments in Imperial in 2003. With Chelsea and Emerson Construction, and I also built the Calexico family apartments in 2003 as well. So it's good to be back. I do enjoy coming down here. I grew up in a small town of 700 people in East Central Illinois, so it's nice to come and see tractors at work because I spent a lot of my childhood on those tractors. So we're very excited about being here and giving back to the community, and we think this is one area that we can bring our expertise to bear for the city of Brawley and help you solve a very challenging problem.
Super.
Okay. Any other
We got
comments?
another Nava.
It's everywhere.
Okay. Any other comments, City Council? Victor?
Mayor and City Council, I'd just like to add another project that one of our architects that's worked is our federal courthouse in El Centro. That was actually nationally competitive as well, and that's one of our prize developments as well. So I want to make sure that and let you guys know that that's something that we're proud of. And I just would like to say one reason why I moved to take this exciting new position with Gaffcon is because they build communities first. I just would like to emphasize that when nobody felt there was a hope of the Ghost Hotel 10 years ago, a lot of people passed it up. And this is really before the lithium extraction industry to support development. So it's exciting, and we love to be able to give that opportunity here in Brawley.
Very good. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Not?
this is a site that I know you've worked on it as well, Mayor Pro Tem Nava, and all the council's been working on, and it's something that I've been looking at as well myself. I haven't done much with as far as participation, but I would like to see it move forward. But I think that just out of respect and out of what we've done over the years, right, that we get ahead of ourselves sometimes, I wouldn't mind putting this off for 2 weeks or to the next meeting till we get to look at the study. I'm all for it, and I want to see this move forward. But I do think that Mayor Pro Tem now has a point, and I do see the difference, all right? We're going to see it once we dig in a little more. But I do want to see this project move forward. I do want to see the study move forward. But I would recommend that we put it off and, follow our Mayor Pro Tem's lead on this. Again, it'll probably pass next time it comes in front of us, but I think we should do our due diligence and, go from there, so.
Okay.
If I could just add one more point, I think one of the other things that we have been, having discussions with Tyler about is the role that we're proposing is really staff augmentation, really the expert subject matter qualifications of our staff to help city manager execute on the vision of the council. So it's really a staff augmentation role that we're proposing.
Understood.
So.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
Well, I've heard comments. Are you making a?
I would just
Table the item?
just table the item to the next meeting, and
Which is
if you
October
could
the
send us
4th.
that feasibility study so we can review it. I don't see any problem with this, but I think we should follow. I mean, I want to do stuff right. I don't want to get ahead of myself all the time. And if there's some considerations that we need, that we need to look at all that stuff.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay, till October the 4th, I think that would be the next meeting. Okay. Do I have a second?
Do we need to have a motion?
I don't know. You can ask.
You can just
I think we can just
table
table it.
We just give direction.
You can just give direction.
I think the council
Is the
member,
consensus of the council to push it to October the 4th?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm sure that there's going to be public input,
I think so, and then that property is in a unique situation because of the closeness to residential.
Right.
It's in a unique position because Caltrans controls the highway at that point.
Yeah.
We have some other issues, I think, that we have to look at. And we've been looking at those for years, and it doesn't seem to change much, but it still continues to be an ongoing problem for us.
I think that this study would address all that
I
stuff.
believe that would.
All those issues.
And I would agree in the sense that I think reading the room, there's high interest in seeing this move forward, but I think, quite honestly, just if we can take a step prior to that and just one more meeting before it's decided, I think would be good.
Okay, sounds good to me. So I think staff has direction on that one, and
Yes, Mayor.
well, that's what we'll do. We'll move it forward to the next meeting. Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 5B is discuss and approve the street closure to segment of Main Street and various select intersections for the annual cattle call events. Chamber of Commerce for Greater Brawley further request waiver of fees associated with the event and be allowed the sale of alcohol during cattle call events, presented by Rachel Fonseca, Parks and Recreation Manager, and I believe she's going to be...
Mr. Mayor, I've read the backup material on this particular item. For the sake of time, I know it's something that we've done in the past. I would like to make a motion to approve the item. I know in the past it's also been a concern for Councilmember Hamby to vote on the alcohol issues, but could we separate that motion into two segments? Or how would we best do that?
Can we do that?
Sure, you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do initially is, so the initial motion that you're going to make would be to approve the street closure to segment of Main Street and various intersections. Allow them to request a waiver of fees, so you're going to
Yes.
request a waiver of fees, and that would be what we would get so far.
Right, I'll make the motion for the street closures and the waiver of fees for the cattle call events presented by the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
That's a
You have the
motion.
motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that part carries. Okay, and then that the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Brawley be allowed the sale of alcohol during the cattle call events.
I'll make the motion that they will be allowed the sale of alcohol according to their schedule.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
I have a second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
We have one no. Okay.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the next item on the agenda, I know that, and sorry to get ahead of you, but just for the sake of time, I'm sorry, is discuss and approve the street closure of portion of Cattle Call Drive. I'll make the motion to approve that item.
Okay. And I'll entertain a second, and now we'll have the discussion. Okay, so it's discuss and
Donnie.
Donnie, okay, thank you.
Mr. Ward. Discuss and approve the street closure for a portion of Cattle Call Drive for Best Step Forward's third annual soapbox race at the Cattle Call Park, presented by Rachel Fonseca, Parks and Recreation Manager.
So we've made the motion. and a second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Anything from the public? Okay, I will say one thing about this is, I talked to Rachel about this issue when it came up, because I wanted to ensure that the Cattle Call Committee, which has some necessity to keep control of the Cattle Call Park during or near the Cattle Call events. This is October 29th. So I wanted to ensure that they said it was fine with them for them to have this, it's for a good cause, it's fine with them for them to have this, and I think that was received, and I think we got that in the backup, and so I'm satisfied with that, and that was my only concern with this event. It's been a good event. I think it's taken place a couple different times, and it's for a good cause, so.
They're not asking for fee waivers.
Huh?
They're not asking for.
They're not asking for fee waivers at this point in time. And I think they paid some fees in the past, a certain
They were
amount.
waived in the past.
They may have been waived
Yeah.
for them, yeah. And I don't know that they're asking for that right now. We can always come back to that, I think, by October 29th if we need to. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
Nicole Rothfleisch, Brawley. Just a quick question, because I haven't seen the background on this, but do you know the day and times, just as someone who's boards horses down there? I'm just wondering if I need to be aware of not having access or something like that down there. Thank you.
That's one of my concerns, too. And so the day and time, it would be October 29th, 2022, requesting,
11 to 1 p.m.
11, okay. They want to close, but in here it says to close
okay.
the park from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
Right.
Sorry.
The event is
it's
held
from
between those hours.
The hours 11 to
And this
to
would be
1.
the third time that it's been there.
And they've done this 2 times in the past.
So is there no access down there at all to the public for any
Let's let Rachel talk. here for a moment.
In the past, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
In the past, Robin made arrangements with those that have horses down there, so that way they can go in and out before the park closes.
Okay.
We'll make
So-
arrangements.
So it sounds like the arrangements will be made, and just, we need to all communicate effectively, and then I think we'll be able to handle that. It won't, they may close the park at 8 a.m. I don't know how close that means, and I know the police department will probably be working with them on that. So we'll make some kind of accommodations, and if everybody gets together, I think we can all make this work.
It can be
I had some
accommodated.
concerns because it's close to cattle call, and I always worry about the cattle call park at that time, but it appears that we're okay with it. So was that the information that you needed? Yes. Okay, okay.
Did we
Very
make
good.
a motion to approve? No?
You made the motion.
No, but is there?
We haven't voted yet.
Voted, yeah.
No, we
that's my
we
question.
had a second, we just got to vote.
Okay.
That was discussion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Okay. Okay. Discussion and potential action to authorize the city manager to sign the memorandum of understanding between the city of Brawley and the city of El Centro for tree planting in the city of Brawley for the Imperial Valley Urban Forest Project, presented by Rachel.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just please, this is something we've done in the past. We actually planted, you were with me, we planted trees at Hinojosa Park through the Imperial Valley Urban Forest Project and the city of El Centro. I'd like to make a motion to approve the item.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any discussion? Rachel, any input briefly?
No.
No, it's the same as the last time.
Okay.
Thanks, Rachel.
Any comment from the public? Okay. It's pretty simple. We dig the holes in the park, we put the trees in, but they have to be planted in
You
certain.
actually
I did like 15 of them.
I've seen you work.
I did like
you work.
one, he did like 15, but he's much younger.
You actually, you were holding the shovel, sir.
Yes.
He did.
I like
Yes.
to lean on the shoulder.
We had a
Yes.
lot of good
We did a lot of
volunteers.
pictures, and we had a large
Good
volunteer
help.
group,
Nothing
and
but help us on
residents
this
from.
Armando's son was out
Hinojosa
there.
Park
He
were
was out there. He was
They
doing
were
quite a
all
bit.
up there doing a lot. So,
The whole wrestling team this time.
Yeah.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, good. Good there. Okay, item 5E, I believe we're on. It's review and approve the closure of Leonard Street between South Cesar Chavez Street and South Adams Street and the alleyway from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and waive the street closure fee for St. Margaret Mary's Kermes, presented by Rachel Fonseca.
Miss.
Kermes?
Get a
Is that
miss.
Kermes? Oh, thank you very much. That happens when you're raised by Okies. Presented by Rachel Fonseca, Parks and Recreation Manager.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, we've done this in the past as well, and that's a celebration that the church has had for many, many years. I would make a motion to approve the item.
I was second.
And I have a motion and a second, and that comment is true, and so it may be funny, but it is true, you know, I mean, when.
You did a good job, just
They
gotta
did,
say.
they did a good job,
You turned
except
out
in the
pretty good.
language area.
Turned out
yes,
well.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any comment? Anything from the public? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Okay, item 5F, discuss and approve the IBRMA amended and restated joint powers agreement to include new Cal recycle laws and regulations concerning recycling of green waste, presented by Guillermo Sias, Public Works Director. Guillermo, you're up.
I'm sorry, Guillermo.
I was waiting for that, but
I know you were waiting for
it. Good evening, members of the council. Guillermo Sias, Public Works Director. This item is to enter into an agreement with other jurisdictions forming a joint power authority for the Imperial Valley Resources Management Agency that is providing help to these local jurisdictions collectively to help with the recycling and reduction of solid waste. And we have been in an agreement similar with IBRMA since 2008. And the need for this new agreement or amendment is because Cal Recycle has mandated new laws and regulations that were not previously addressed because they did not exist. And with this new agreement, so we will be being helped by the IBRMA to address the reduction, helping with the solid waste and organics,
and also continue with the reporting part to Kyle Recycle with all the quantities that are being recycled, and also handling waste management that they have been doing. And is pretty much to address these new 3 regulations since 2011 that were imposed by the state. Other jurisdictions, other cities in the Imperial Valley are also part of this Joint Powers Authority, and that's pretty much the item this night.
I was looking at this, it's a lot, like you have to be an attorney to be able to figure it out, right?
It is written by an attorney.
Is there any way, I'm going to ask to table this item. I would like to see the changes in our agreement or whatever it is. Is this a brand-new agreement, or are we changing a previous agreement?
Changing to add certain things that...
Yeah, so using the KISS method for ignorant folks like me, you usually highlight stuff, or you make sure that it's pointed out and people like myself can understand the changes, and so that we make an educated decision as to what we're getting into. Because I know you guys have gotten to a big agreement. I'm not a big fan of increasing fees on folks, and I don't know if it's in here. And I've been going through it, and it's just I would like to table it in order to see it.
It doesn't
in this
address any
manner.
fees. It's more of the unfunded mandates that we've all been talking about with SB. Apologies.
Can we still
1383.
Can we still bring it back like that?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we could, please. It'd be very helpful.
For the next meeting, maybe?
Just for reference, Mr. Castro, you might recall that some time ago, Mr. Steven Mireles with the City of Brawley did a very good presentation about how he went to the landfill.
Yes.
That's a very good presentation.
George Taylor and team were doing an effort to recycle organics and try to come up with a good product that can be reused. All that presentation is pretty much related, but other items included in this new regulation is a lot of reporting, a lot of monitoring, and all pretty much is what is new that needs to be included on this new agreement.
Before we table this, is there any deadline that we have to be aware of?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I may.
Yes.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. If I may, David Lim from IVRMA. We do an annual report for the jurisdictions to reflect the progress on the mandates. The report is due October 3rd.
Oh.
The changes that are being included in this one, the only thing that's being amended is SB 1383. It wasn't there before, but in order for IVRMA to also report for the jurisdictions on this mandate, we would need to have it amended in the JPA.
And you have a deadline of October 3rd?
The report is due October 3rd. Yes.
Okay.
We wouldn't meet.
We don't
that
meet
again,
until
right?
the 4th. Okay, so
So that would be the only item that's been changed, which has been presented.
Yes,
Couple
the
of
other
different
change is
times
a
I'm
change of
opposed.
administration, very minimal, just
Right.
from the City of El Centro to ICTC. Nothing else has.
and this doesn't address the fees issue or any of that?
There is a section for the fees, but nothing changed on that.
Okay, nothing
No
changed.
increase.
No increase.
Should there be any changes, that would be discussed further, and if we would need to do an
In
amendment.
future
we would-
future meetings or whatever we would have to
Yeah.
do. I think I'd like to see us
Move
go
forward.
ahead and move forward
Mr.
with
Mayor,
this,
yeah,
and then we
and-
can come back and
Mr.
revisit
Kessler,
it.
would you be comfortable with
Yeah,
that?
no, that's fine. We have a deadline, and the only reason, obviously, I'm not going on about should have been presented earlier is we were on break. So,
Yeah, we didn't have
No,
a
but
special-
let's do that in the future. I think maybe I'm spoiled a bit, and that's been done in the past and in other areas. Same thing has happened, or anything that I look at, any changes are usually highlighted so that it's easy for us to tell and be able to see what's been, So if we can do that going forward, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. So for right now, I'll entertain a motion to move forward with this due to deadlines, et cetera.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the item.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second the item.
I have a second. Okay, any comment from the public? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you for the
Thank you very much.
added information. Appreciate it.
Yes. Okay. Item G, discussion and review potential action to approve and adopt resolution of the City of Brawley amending the Brawley Police Department Recruitment Policy 153-2, presented by Jimmy Duran, Chief of Police.
Chief, you lost some weight.
I'm going to refer my
He does
comment.
look skinnier.
I'm going to stain that comment right there.
Just a haircut.
No, it's got to be the haircut. It's got to be the haircut. The beard, the haircut. You know, I'm going to turn it to that.
You always look
I'm
good.
actually heavier, believe it or not. So that's why,
But you
you know,
carry
it took
it
me by
well.
surprise.
But you carry it well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
I guess it's been a while.
Bigger move. Bigger move. Good evening, members of the council, mayor, and public. So today, I'm hoping that our recommendation will go forward. This is to review and approve and adopt resolution of the city of Brawley that will amend policy 153-2, and that's the police recruitment policy. As you know, law enforcement agencies across our nation are struggling to recruit and hire qualified police officers, and we're not exempt from this. And although we have significantly reduced police officer vacancies within the last 18 months, we still have 2 police officer vacancies. And it should be noted that these vacancies exist due to our inability to retain fully trained police officers, as it is the case in a lot of the agencies in Imperial County and throughout the state. And of course, our retention factors are very complex. They really can't be attributed to one particular cause. It's really a combination, or rather multiple social, political, and economic forces that pretty much are at play here. I am happy to report that we are working hard at attempting to fill the last 2 positions. So we are putting a lot of effort, we're putting a lot of work, but we haven't been able to attract candidates that will pass our hiring process. And of course, we don't intend to lower our standards just to get these 2 positions filled. So in order to achieve our recruiting objective, which is to fill these last 2 positions and attract qualified police candidates, we are recommending that we amend policy 153-2, which is attached. We attached the old policy and the amended one, and on top of the resolution, that so you could see the difference in both policies. And if approved, the amended policy is going to allow us to attract experienced officers by offering competitive pay for applicants based on their California Peace Officer Standards and training certifications and level of experience. One of the important factors to take into account in this decision is that when we recruit fully trained police officers or experienced officers, it really saves our city thousands of dollars in training, overtime, and really lowers our risk, our liability, because when we hire these officers that been around, they know what they're doing, you know, they tend to demonstrate knowledge, good judgment, and again, they're less likely to make a mistake or an error in the field. And I just should remind you that within the last year, we did recruit 3 individuals who came from other agencies, and I think they really are serving as an example and validate what we're saying here. And although these
Turnover too, I mean, it saves in that, you know?
yes, training,
Tremendously.
turnover, and although these last 3 individuals we hired, they were hired at sergeant and above, so they were not affected by policy 153-2. They do serve to validate the importance of hiring experienced officers. So I do hope that you take that into account today. And again, the fiscal impact, we're unable to determine that because an individual that would be hired and approved by the city manager, what could be different? You know, it could be somebody starting at the bottom or mid-range or the upper level that's authorized by policy. And at this point, I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Chief, you mentioned a while ago, one of our first sit-downs, I think you discussed a kind of a program kind of like that would help us recruit or start folks up on this path locally through the high school, or
Yes.
IBC. I'm just curious if you have any updates on it. It doesn't have to be today, it could be another time.
Yes, actually, we are moving forward. We are starting our Explorer program, and we're partnering with the high school. We actually developed a new patch we're hoping to present to council along with the new Explorers that we have. We already received 22 applications. We already vetted 15. We're working with the high school. Like I said, we're meeting this Friday. We're working on an MOU. In the patch, which is very unique because none of the Explorer programs that I know about have that. It's going to have the high school logo embedded in our patch as to show our relationship with our school district. So I think everybody is excited about that, is excited about the program. As you know, the program has been non-existent for the last 3 years, and we have been working since I got here to get this going, and now we're at that level. So that we're hoping that it's going to allow us to take it to the next level and recruit local candidates. And we are working with the high school to get some of these classes approved as transferable to the college through IVC. So I think there's one that has been already approved by the college, but we're hoping to do more that will transfer to criminal justice. That way, when they're going through that program at the high school, it's really, we can't say they're wasting their time, so they're getting some knowledge that is going to serve for a degree in the future.
Very nice.
There's going to be 20 monitos running around.
Our goal is to have them up and running before Cattle Call Parade, so that's our goal.
I mean, that creates, I mean, people want to, they're from here, they get a job here, they stay here, and they're vested in the community.
Yes.
It's not just a stepping stone. So I'd like to make a comment real quick, because I did come on TV a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, sound bites always sound like it's one thing or another. Just like to say, look, I've been out there, I observe the officers all the time. I see them out in public. They're doing a great job. Just saw one this morning. Their interaction with the community is fantastic. The attitude has changed. You're doing a great job. So the sound bites on the news aren't, they might seem like I don't support our police department. I absolutely do. So just putting that out there. They always take a little little bit of what I say, and then, it comes out of something else. So you have my full support, Chief.
Oh, thank you.
That.
Appreciate that.
As well as the council.
Okay.
A question for you, Chief. With respect to your policy change, any concern from the human resources aspect of it?
No, we actually, well, maybe our HR director is here, but we've been working in collaboration with human resources, with the city manager's office, and also with the association, because we ran this by association to make sure they were collaborating with us. And actually, the association provided some of the language that's in the policy. So, which is, I think it really shows the partnership we have with our troops.
Just the cost, right? I mean, as long as.
Yeah, I'm staring at Carla because I'm interested in cost.
Cost, I mean, I'm sure I trust your judgment, Chief, and I have, and so I'm sure you'll find the resources, even if it's in the evidence drawer, you know what I mean? But, right? So.
No, we have something better.
All right, there we go.
Within our budget, we have a line item that's called contingency for staffing, and it's just for this, for flexibility and being able to offer different type of pay scales that weren't necessarily budgeted. What if we have someone with additional skills and we budget at step 1, but we want to do a step 2 to really validate that those credentials and bring them on board. So we do have that budgeted. We did have savings last fiscal year, which we'll be carrying forward to this fiscal year. So there is some contingency for staffing is exactly what it's called.
Appreciate it.
For that purpose.
And certain members of the public have said that they feel we should pay our police officers more. Or I think the ones with experience, maybe this will be a good thing.
Aside from opinion of the public, I think what Chief is saying, though, it rings true.
Yes.
The experience and the pay and all those.
And I've kind of looked into that, so yeah, we're fairly low on the scale, I think. So let's see what we can do with this. This might be something a little more innovative and a little bit better for us overall.
Yes, it's definitely different. I think it's going to set us apart from the pack.
Trust your judgment. I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other comment? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Good job.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, item 5H, discuss and review and approve awarding of $84,616 for broadband infrastructure improvements at Fire Station 2 with installation of fiber optic cabling. Further authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with Imperial Valley Telecommunications Authority, IVTA, for completion of the upgrades. Presented by Armando Garibay, Information Technology Director. Armando?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. Before you, I have a recommendation to approve awarding IVTA, Imperial Valley Telecommunications Authority, an amount of $86,616 for the installation of fiber optic cable. This in Station 2, and what this is part of the ARPA funding that was approved, you guys approved last year. So it's not going to take a hit into our general fund. And this is mainly to improve the services at Station 2. Now that we've hit the pandemic, we've all been very dependent on technology, and this is what this addresses, and it's not just for today, it's for tomorrow. This provides fiber optic cabling to that location, and if for some reason we wanted to provide high-speed services to, let's say, the airport or any in the vicinity, we are there. We have a demarcation. We're ready for that.
And this has been an issue, a weakness that we've had in that area for quite some time. So, this solves that issue.
Internet accessibility and
Absolutely.
everything, and speed.
But
Speed,
what is
so-
it that, how are we addressing our internet needs there at that location, Armando?
At the airport or?
At Fire Station 2.
So today, well, this is what takes care of that. We've delivered a direct fiber connection from here to there, and they are able to reach speeds of 10 gigabit speeds, which is.
But the question is, how are we addressing their concern currently? Like, what are we doing right now?
Oh, today they have a hodgepodge of internet services. So they have.
And this is what I wanted to hear.
Verizon LTE. They have LTE services from IBTA that load balance both of those. There is no ability right now, none of the local internet carriers can offer any internet services without charging us at least $30,000 to $50,000 just to get service in there, and that's not even at these speeds.
Right.
Okay.
So the speed is far
Exactly.
superior,
And
right?
that's what
so
we're
it's
running
something
into.
I
we
mean,
need.
Cindy, I don't understand. I mean, I'm shocked that we don't have that yet.
Yeah.
Like, that's, to
It's
me,
been a
it's like-
weakness. It's been a
It's a
weakness.
weakness in
Yes,
that area.
But, we need to have that.
84,000 or 86,000?
84,616.
Okay.
You had said 86.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure that we had the right
Extra
amount.
$2,000, huh?
No, right.
See if it works.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a
Also move-
motion, or if.
motion to
I'll
approve
second
item.
the item.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion from the council? No?
No, item 5, I'm sorry, 5H.
Public? It's actually 5G.
5 what?
No, it's
No, it's
5H.
actually 5H, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, just as we're making a motion, let's continue to throw out the comment. You mentioned the ARPA funds. So again, this was discussed in detail where a list led by our finance director was presented very publicly. So this is all part of that critical infrastructure that we're addressing.
Good job.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Do we have a vote?
Yes, we can. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, there you go. I'm throwing myself
Armando,
off.
your item's been
myself
approved.
off, I'm losing track. Okay, item 5A, discuss, review, and approve payment of mandatory minimum fine in the amount of $10,350 to the State Water Resources Control Board. Violations occurred during July and September of 2021 for effluent discharge of E. Coli exceedances, presented by Guillermo Sias, Public Works Director.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the council, Guillermo Sias, Public Works Director. It is with regret to present this item because we received this invoice from the State Water Resources Control Board for a notice of violation on the effluent of the wastewater treatment plant effluent for the discharge of E. coli, which is a bacteria. I want to clarify for the public that this is on wastewater, so nothing to do with drinking potable water or anything like that. No confusion, right? This at the very downstream of the process to discharge the last effluent.
The water that goes into the new river,
Yes.
which
Right.
is the most
Yeah,
polluted
nothing
river
to-
out there.
to get into the
really clean.
Right.
the
The water's
city
almost like
system,
a,
right?
it's like you can drink it, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
that
almost
clean.
Right.
It's all, if you haven't been out there, I take people on tours all the time, but what goes in, you could imagine like the dirtiest wastewater, and what comes out is nearly as clean as bottled water, right? And
Right.
so, just
And
to
they-
go back
yeah.
into the
Yeah.
dirtiest
Yeah.
dumpster. out there.
So
So we get fined when it's not.
So the state of California
To the standard of
takes
the-
our money
yeah,
away.
right.
As you may be aware, over the last 10 years, the State Water Resources Control Board are not my favorite people. And so, and I continue
Yeah,
to feel that way.
yeah, me too.
Ongoing.
I'm not a big fan either.
Okay.
Like, on record.
Yes, I would like to just make some comments regarding what could have happened with this. The wastewater treatment plant is a very complex processing plant that has many components, and a lot of things happen there behind the scenes because it's not very popular, right? Nobody see what is happening there, and it's very complex, the treatment. part of the solution that we are proposing, as you know, that the disinfection system, which is UV or ultraviolet system at the very end of the process, is very outdated, and we are in the process of design a new system that hopefully it will be soon installed, so to try to avoid all these problems, right?
Right.
But I invited the wastewater treatment plant chief to give you a little bit more of explanation what could happen, because it is very complex, and he's, of course, much more knowledge than me on what the process. So he, can tell you what could have happened, what are we doing to try to avoid this. This happened like a year ago and didn't happen again, but since it's very complex, so many things can happen there. So Mr. Gustavo Rodriguez will be here with us.
Fantastic. He's always very professional.
Good to see you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah. I always say that when Republic Services is here, they come up here and talk trash, and
Council.
wastewater's here, they're here to talk something else,
Talk
right?
caca.
Yeah, there you go.
Evening, council, mayor, and city manager. Like Guillermo said, it's unfortunate what happened a year ago, and trying to pinpoint the cause, it's been a challenge. As of today, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I can talk to you a little bit what we do when we take samples. We take approximately 50 samples of E. coli yearly, and a lot more samples that we have to meet those requirements. The person in charge of taking samples is our lab analyst, and I have full confidence of what she does. She's a grade 2 lab analyst, and I always aware of what's going on. We have to wear gloves. We use a sterilized bottle where we put the sample. It is sealed. When the sample is taken, the person taking the sample is careful not to touch it in a way where it can introduce contamination or get it too close to the person can breathe into the sample and cause contamination. When we take the sample, we put the sample and we put it in a Ziploc bag to prevent contamination from ice or water. The sample then is taken to the lab in El Centro, where we relinquish the sample to the next person who is going to deliver the sample to Riverside, to the commercial lab. Mm-hmm. Once they take control of the sample, then we have no control of what they do. I know Babcock Labs is a very professional and with an excellent reputation commercial lab. So I cannot say that it was contaminated on our side or their side, because the sample is transported and manipulated by humans. Mm-hmm. There is a potential for human error. The other reason, other than handling of the sample, of course, is the possibility that our sample was already contaminated and was not fully disinfected by our UV system. Our UV system is more than 22 years old. And not too long ago, maybe a year ago, Trojan, the representatives of Trojan approached us and informed us that our system was becoming obsolete. And they told us that within 2 years of that visit, they were not going to be able to supply parts to maintain the equipment running. So I passed that information to my higher-ups, and they started to look into a project to replace our UV system. And that project, as you know, is moving forward, and I hope to see it by the end of 2023 or earlier in full operation. That will eliminate the possibility of any more bacterial contamination. I wanted to inform you what was happening.
At least from the initial sample, wouldn't eliminate the human error that could take place, but but it would eliminate at least the treatment, right?
At least, yes, the UV. I want to share with you some other information that I have. What was happening at the same time that we were violating the back T. Okay. Like you said, Mr. Nava, that water is almost drinkable.
Right.
On the first violation happened on May the 12th. There was, we violated the E. coli and the fecal because we were operating under the old permit that we had. Before, we had 3 bacteria that we have to analyze. Under the new permit, we only have to analyze for E. coli. But removal efficiencies, I'm proud of that wastewater plant and what our operators do. We have been able to achieve 98 to 99% removal efficiency on BOD and TSS any given day, any given month. I have records here that it shows that water looks crystal clear. You put it in a bottle, in a clear bottle.
Mr. Rodriguez, sorry to interrupt. What's the minimum percentage
The minimum percentage
required by the state?
That we have achieved?
No, that they require.
Oh, 85%. Not less than 85. And we have a limit on BOD of 30 milligrams per liter and a limit on TSS of 30 milligrams per liter. I'm happy to report that our value, our numbers are 2 milligrams or sometimes non-detect, and TSS is 2 milligrams. Our plant is working excellent, removing organics. When it comes to other bacteria, it depends on our disinfection system. And during the month of May, I have a list of all the work that we perform on our system, beginning May the 5th. I went back and looked at my records, what happened those days. And on May the 5th, the council approved the purchase of the new UV lamps because we replace UV lamps once a year. That was approved on the 5th. On the 18th, we requested a PO to replace a couple of communication circuit boards in the system because we were having some issues with keeping the system working at 100%. Then on the 19th of May, we had our PO approved, and we ordered the lamps from DC Frost, is the company that provides the UV lamps for our system. And I wrote that on the 21st of May, we also had some issues with UV system Bank A. Then on June the 1st, we ordered the communication boards because we already had the PO approved for that. On the 9th of June, we had water that leaked into one of our modules, and where 16 lamps are attached to each module. All that wiring was completely wet, and we pulled it out, replaced, ordered the wiring, and we done that most of the work ourselves. Our staff has become experts in working with our UV system. It's a Trojan 4,000 units. And we replaced all that, all the wires, and the system went back online, working at 100%. Then on the 17th of June, we had a company, a local company, RM Power, which they have a excellent technician, and that's been helping us. They installed the communication boards. So we had our system back again online. Then on the 22nd of June, we replaced a level sensor. That's the sensor that measures the water level in the channel where we have our UV lamps. On the 29th of June, we had before all that, I called the Trojan certified technician, and it takes days before somebody can show up to help us. This technician came from Phoenix and helped us troubleshoot the system. What happened that day, the screen that where you can move or look at the system burned out. That was June. Extreme temperatures cause the screen to fail. Our electrical control box was installed underneath the shade, but in the open air. In June, temperatures are extremely hot, and that enclosure is made of stainless steel, and the components inside produce heat. So that burned the screen. So what we did, once Trojan warranty, the screen was less than a year old. So Trojan gave us a brand new screen and sent the technician to install it. We built an enclosure, a wooden enclosure. We have one of the operators that was a framer. So he built an enclosure and we installed an AC unit to maintain all those components with cool. Ever since, it's been working beautiful and we have no problems, but that was one of the causes that was making the UV system fail multiple times. And we kept fixing it and fixing it. So I'm happy to say that since a little more than a year, we haven't had any more bacterial violations.
Thanks to the ingenuity, though, of the staff to make it happen, though, too.
We try everything we can just to keep the equipment running, and we have a preventive maintenance program, and we are on top of every piece of equipment just to make it work. And we are just on a daily basis inspecting equipment. We do make rounds in the morning, and before we leave, we make rounds again, and we take notes, and anything that goes, we think it's failing, we take action right now. I mean, right away.
And if I could just add something, I've been out there a handful of times to visit and to tour with members of the public, with members of staff, council members, and I can tell you that that staff out there is highly trained, very dedicated, and I mean, think of all of what he's describing and all the work and one violation, right? After multiple failures of equipment that they've had to rig up to work, had to make, take preventative measure to do all that, and so I certainly appreciate it. I mean, wastewater treatment, I always say this, it's not the sexiest job in the world, but it's one of those things that is very, very critical. And think about it, one violation, that's being noted for all that work.
I appreciate those comments. I was thinking when I was seated there, operating a wastewater plant and meet all the requirements 100% of the time, it's a big challenge because we deal with bacteria, microorganisms that do the work for us. We have to keep those microorganisms happy so they can do the work that they are supposed to do. And it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I take gladly. That keeps me motivated to keep working, and I'm at the age that I'm been considering retiring.
No.
But I like this so much. You're not gonna let him, huh? I like this job so much. Working with running a wastewater plant, it's something that I consider a privilege, and I'm not trying to impress anybody. I definitely consider that a privilege. Every morning, every day, it's a different thing, and you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So
you're highly professional, and I appreciate you very much.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just to comment that if, especially once you get out there and kind of see how the operation works, and I don't mean this in I'm not even trying to be humorous, but every time you flush the toilet, you should be thanking this man. Because
that's absolutely true.
Because if that didn't work right, I can guarantee that our phones would light up in terms of, it's the one issue that, it's one of many issues actually we take for granted. But
water delivery and wastewater treatment is the things that many people don't think about, but they're absolutely critical to any city, and so I appreciate it very much, the work, and thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to come before you and try to explain you what's going on there, and I'll be more than glad to have you all visit us. And I'll grab a glass of water. Look at it.
At the end of the tour. It's weird. It's been about a year since I visited, right?
Yes.
It's been about a year, but I did grab a glass of water at the other site. But I wouldn't do it at yours. I was when I went there, Tyler took me and we went out and did a tour. the work they do, it's excellent. I love to brag. I know I brag. I know it sounds like I built about 90%. I installed personally 90% of the electrical work when that
Yes,
site was
I
redone. I
understand,
was
yeah.
working there as an apprentice, and they beat me up pretty good. But I'm so proud to go see it. And when I went there, I was even more proud of the work that you guys do. Excellent explanation, the walkthrough, and even through the labs. So I mean, it was very thorough. And you know, you kept it simple so that I could understand it. So very much I appreciate it,
Everything's
sir.
still working.
You did a great
except
job.
We have to keep the equipment running and replacing it as needed. So I appreciate your understanding and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, just one comment.
Yes, sure.
In the CIP plan of this budget that you all approved, there's the UV disinfection system replacement that is budgeted to the
Right.
tune of about $1.29 million,
Yeah.
so.
It's expensive.
I also think that the state doesn't understand our temperatures down here
Right.
and the effect it has on machinery and the other things, effect that it has on our watering of plants, effects that it has on our wastewater plant and our other equipment throughout the city, and not just wastewater and water, but everything suffers because of our heat and intense sunlight. And most people in the state don't understand that, and that's nice that they don't, but I don't have a lot of.
Mr. Mayor, if you ever go out there to tour the wastewater treatment facility and you go to the final discharge point, it's the only clean water that's going into the New River, and that's actually where all the fish congregate because they're getting like fresh water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like everything else is just filthy.
And I've been
But,
out there
you
many
know,
times.
It's so frustrating because, you know, based on what Mr. Rodriguez is saying, this is an anomaly. You know, it's not
Right.
like repeat offense after, you know, month after month. And rather than, you know, the State Water Resources Control Board saying, okay, clearly you had,
Yeah.
there's some kind of issue,
Fixed
but you
it,
fixed
and
it right
addressed
away.
it. Now it's punitive.
Yeah, it's punitive
Yeah.
right off the bat, and it's ridiculous.
And they lament that we have a low-income community
Right.
that needs all this money, and then they take $10,000
Take
from
it
us,
from us.
or $3 million, or $2 million, or $1
Right.
million, or whatever they want, and it happens all the time. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I don't like those people, but we'll move on.
I would like to appreciate your understanding because as you notice and you have been in the plan, it's very difficult, you know, to be 100% on all the, meeting all the conditions of discharge. And also, during this new phase of construction where the UV system will be replaced, just for your knowledge, the designer has to include a temporary UV system to be working to meet the limits for not violating the discharge. So pretty much they will install something temporarily while they install the permanent and then remove the temporary. So it will be two equipments working pretty much at the same time because, you know, we are not allowed to discharge.
And we
or
may
exceed.
expect some additional incidences, and I think that would probably be the norm rather than the exception.
Right.
And so we need to be aware of that, and I think aware that we may get fined for that, but that's just the way it
Right.
goes when you're trying to do construction and trying to change
Just
things around, so.
a question, do we have extra room in those ponds that we weren't able to discharge at that point to retain that, like stop discharge temporarily? Do we have room in those ponds?
I believe so, but as Gustavo mentioned, it's very complicated when you mess up
Yeah.
with the bacteria.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Exactly.
he probably didn't mention on what he tried to explain all the variables that happened during that time of the violations, but there was a storm also that you know that
Mixes
since
it
we
all
had
up.
combined system,
Yeah.
that doesn't help. So the stormwater system and the sewage is combined. So when there's a rain, everything goes in the same pipe, so gets into the plant, which makes, you know, upset the bacteria and changes the conditions.
Yeah. But, you know, Mr. Mayor, if I could, Mr. Rodriguez, I always appreciate you being so professional with everything. And the fact that you take personal responsibility for the work that you do, I really, truly appreciate that. You come up here and you explain yourself, and I can sense that, you know, you have some disappointment, not in yourself, but in the process. But I do want to commend you for doing such a good job and being thorough and professional. You're always very, very professional. I appreciate that very much.
Okay. I think we have a comment from the public.
I just have a question. Considering what you were saying about these being very isolated and rare incidences, and this being a low-income community with not a huge tax base like a big city, every little well, this is a large fine, but it impacts us. And I was just wondering if you guys have looked into appealing this and if there's any kind of appeals process for these fines.
There's not an appeals process.
They don't allow us to appeal.
It's strict liability. It only gets worse.
This is actually a relatively
It's a
small fine.
Right, I understand. I've dealt with them in the past as well, but.
This is a relatively.
Fact of the
small-
matter is, the Regional Water Quality Control Board's budget, it depends on how many fines they collect from
Right.
cities. It's a really bad system.
System.
And you
And
need to vote
we know
people out
that
in
very well.
Sacramento to get rid of it.
And we know very much that it is a bad system, and so, but we
Yeah.
can't really appeal, so we're stuck.
Yeah, okay.
And we may be
That's what I was
stuck with
Get us a bill,
recycling fines.
And
and
it
all.
says if
Invoice.
you don't pay it,
Yeah.
we're going to sue
Yeah.
you for not paying it. So there's no appeal, there's
Yeah,
nothing.
they sent us like a $2.8 million bill once, just like, and they called and like.
And it said
"When are you gonna pay
payable
this?" Uh-huh.
with a date.
Yeah, like, hey, when are you gonna pay?
How much? So that's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
the
like
situation that we're
2.8.
faced with.
Yeah,
And
we
we're very
negotiated it
frustrated with
down, but
there's
it
not
was
a whole
still-
lot we
It's
can
a
do.
Maybe
horrible
to Ms.
system.
Okay.
Rodfleisch's point, though, I'll just toss in, it's rare, it doesn't seem like it happens often.
Yeah.
There are times they allow you to apply that fine to the
Yes.
betterment of the community for,
Right.
to address a problem.
And we
So-
would rather see that,
Yeah.
and they have allowed us to
Like
do
I
some
said,
of
yeah.
that, but not in most.
When they
most-
fine you $1 million, then
They may give in a
Then
little
they'll
bit,
talk.
because we've had to pay that.
And we've had
So-
to renegotiate. and-
Yes,
yeah,
and
but
we've
in-
had to
anyway.
negotiate fines. with
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay.
item.
I'll second. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Pass that. Thank you for your input. Okay, informational reports, item 6. Update on City of Brawley declaration of local emergency as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, presented by Fire Chief Mike York. Anything to report, any different, or do we just go by what the report is at this
the
point?
president said the pandemic is over.
I got that too, but we had to wear a mask at a meeting I was at.
The law
other day.
requires us to just for the record, the law requires the governor to undeclare the emergency at the earliest possible moment. So I think he's overdue.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that's, if there's nothing additional to report, I think we've been getting some reports from the newspaper and other things that have been coming in, but I think everything is continuing along, I think, just as it is.
Even at the state level, they're reporting.
They went to
frequency
weekly,
is-
they
is
went to
getting less
weekly
and
or
less and
every
less,
2
yes.
weeks or every week or something like that.
But
Okay.
we have to include this because we're
Yes.
technically under emergency still in the
Yeah,
state.
exactly. So if there are not any other questions, any question from the public, then we'll just move forward to city council member reports, item number 7. And we'll start with Mr. Hamby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been 7 weeks since we've been here.
At least.
And I don't have a whole lot to report over those 7 weeks. I did get to attend the BPSEA Splash Day at the Lions Center. I took my boys and had some fun in the water. And that was a really great event put on by the Police Association and Parks and Rec. They did a really good job. It was a nice turnout, and everybody looked like they were having a good time. Today, I was able to attend a check presentation out at San Diego State University Brawley campus. Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia was there to present an $80 million check to San Diego State for a STEM building and Lithium Valley research. So we should see some pretty good activity happening out there that will hopefully benefit the city of Brawley in a pretty major way. So looking forward to great things happening, and good to be back in chambers with the rest of council this evening. And that's it for my report.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Maybe likewise, not too many official events, but multiple ongoing, conversations, some county level, some, EMS level, and all I'm reporting there is just the ongoing work that I think happens within our city on an ongoing basis. There's some big events coming up that I'll be a part of. I always start kind of shouting from the mountaintop about this time of the year, but as things start to cool down and the Desert Glamis season starts to open, that's a big economic impact for our city, continues to be. So kind of out on front of that, my understanding is Polaris and the big events are coming back in a big way, kind of post-pandemic, if you want to call it that. So I think there's some interesting and maybe some items that could come before us. I've always asked them and extended the invite for them to come and present even for a few minutes of what all's going on out there. But I think they have some big events planned. So for some of us locals, not to mention all the traffic that does come through Brawley, shops in our stores, stays in our hotels, et cetera, I think we can expect a pretty big opening weekend come Halloween weekend, 28th, 29th, right around there. Outside of that, Mr. Mayor, just looking forward to all the fall events that are going to rapidly come upon us. So I will hold my comments to there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you remind me of, visiting Vaughn's and then not being able to find any hot dog buns. So it's good for business, but that's always what I think about when I think of this.
I just reminded you by now. Right?
Yeah, we'll be ready. I also attended that SDSU check presentation. It's great to see what's coming, a new STEM center, and to see how it's all being applied to work in unison with Lithium Valley and other things that are happening. So they're very excited to see that. Also met with our Brawley Union High School athletic director and one of their board members. There are some improvements being done at the baseball field. They are asking for folks to do some volunteer work. We have done, I have worked personally on a lot of volunteer projects in the city, and I volunteered my services to help them round up some talent to do some work out there. So hopefully, if you hear from me, if the phone rings, that's what it is. I'm calling for help, free labor. So that'll be coming up here real soon. Also, some of the stuff that I do, I volunteer. I've only gone once, actually. I took my son out, and what we do is we do some hikes out at the southern border in Arizona looking for migrants, undocumented immigrants crossing the border who have either perished or are in need of help. We last time found some bones, some hand bones, or whatever you call it. They have managed to rescue a lot of people out there. So I want to do this, try to do this at least once a year, a full week, and it's very taxing on the body. You're out there doing a lot of, it reminds me of what you do, Donnie, is right, your work that you do every day, rescue and whatnot. Anyways, we've been out there once, and so October 15 and 16, we're heading over to Ajo, if that's how you say it, Ajo? Ajo, Arizona. Spend the weekend out. I'll probably just spend Sunday with my son, and we'll be joining their search team, Battalion Search and Rescue, volunteer services helping to find migrants who are stranded and abandoned by the smugglers and who are left to their luck. So we'll either find the bodies and send them back to their families, or hopefully we find them alive and we can get them some help. So that's my report, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone. I know it's been a few weeks. I also was able to attend the San Diego State University STEM Building Check presentation. Great event. A little warm, but it was well attended, and it's great and inspiring to see what's being brought down to Imperial County. $80 million, quite a bit of money, and so I'm hoping that it helps impact economic development within not just Imperial County, but more specifically our Brawley area, so sure. Our community. And also attended the California League of Cities along with our city manager, and that was in Long Beach. A lot of good information. I always make use of the exposition. There's a lot of great vendors that are solving problems for cities throughout the country, and so that's always it's always been a good resource for me and from other council members to attend and get information from. So I know that we toured the area and got good information from various vendors, and I brought some information back, and I'll share that at a future date. I think there's some things that are important for us to share. I also met, as I mentioned earlier today, with the local representative from SCAG, David Alcido, and with respect to Safe Routes to School. In particular, he brought that information down to me, and so that was it's a good partnership. So we have good resources, not just through Imperial County Transportation Commission, but through SCAG, and so that's at our fingertips. So whenever I think it is a good idea to have an update from them, just to provide some input. We could probably keep it very short. I can instruct them to do that, but just to give us a real quick snapshot of what they're doing, not just in Imperial County, but in Brawley in particular. And last but not least, and there's a lot of other things I worked on professionally, personally, and a bunch of other good stuff, but our Brawley-born Andy Reese defeated Luis Ortiz, heavyweight. And so looking forward to seeing him develop even further, and it was a good fight. He put Luis Ortiz, King Kong Ortiz, down 3 times. And, it's going to be interesting to see him maybe at the top again soon. And so that he provides himself another opportunity, and hopefully, he could be facing Wilder and, possibly Tyson Fury. We'll see. But good stuff. Anyway, enjoy yourselves. Thanks, everybody. Keep working hard, and, enjoy the weather. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's good to be the mayor coming out of COVID. I did attend the splash event with the Brawley Police Association, doing that at the Lion Center. Really great event, really well attended, a lot of kids. They had an emergency, had to shut the kiddie pool. I'm not sure what that was about. Luke was in there. I don't know what happened, but they had a problem over there. And then, overall, it was a great event, and we all got snow cones, and it was really kind of shaved ice, and it was all nice. But and then August.
Mr. Mayor, the only time they shut the kiddie pool is, come on.
That's what happened, I guess, but I don't want to mention it.
There's a kiddie accident?
There was a kiddie accident, I think. But they shut the kiddie pool for a while. Yeah, I think they had to shut it down.
Good thing I'm already
They got the little
sunburned,
kids and put them in the bigger pool, and everything was okay. Hopefully, we didn't have any other accidents, but I left because it was hot, and I wasn't swimming. So, August 22nd, I attended the reopening of the Del Rio Library branch. I had received a notice on that. I was the only person there, except for staff. They gave me a nice tour. It's a great library, small library for that area of town, and they have some great kid-oriented activities that they do, and I thought it was a really great reopening of that, and it had been closed for quite a while, so that was great going back over there and seeing that. August 30th, I attended at the Brawley Creamery here on Main Street. There was a presentation regarding battered women in the community, the incidents of those types of things happening, and a lady there that gave her life experiences and talked about that. And I was obliged to say a few words, and I did that. And so I think we all need to be aware of that as a community problem. It's out there, we've seen it, and we've had some history of that recently, of domestic violence and some other things occurring. So we just need to have an awareness of that out there. I know the police department deals with that on a daily basis, and so that's just something, awareness thing for that. September 9th, I got called up for a meeting in San Diego with Governor Newsom's infrastructure czar for infrastructure funding. It happened during the storm, so naturally I went and took my wife with me, which was probably not a really smart thing to do, but I felt I needed to get to this meeting since I was personally invited by the governor's staff to come to this meeting. And so we met with Villagroso, that former, that gentleman. Yeah, thank you. I met with him.
Did he make you do push-ups with him?
No. He was the former mayor of LA, and now he's the governor's person for infrastructure funding. And their concern was they want to send more infrastructure funding to San Diego along with Imperial County. And so we had some Imperial County officials there. We had City of El Centro mayor there. And so we were able to meet with them in the 20-story building downtown in San Diego, which I don't often get to do, and with a big storm coming in. So driving up was wild. I mean, rocks all over the road, and we had to move our way through a lot of rain. Coming back was almost worse. And I thought the road was closed, and it was temporarily, but we did make it back, and everything was safe. So I did get some information. I can share that about funding, but everybody seems to be coming at us with grants and funding right now. So I don't know what's going on with that. September 13th, I attended my usual IVRLP Community Foundation meeting. I think we'll be having Dancing with the Stars this year, and it will be occurring for scholarships for high school students here in Imperial Valley, and it will be probably in all likelihood occurring at the Q. So we talked about that. September 19th, I attended a USDA event or U.S. Department of Agriculture event at Pioneers Memorial Hospital in their auditorium regarding funding. They don't believe we're getting enough funding down here through their rural assistance programs, and so they're talking about funding some infrastructure projects and some other things down here. They have funded some apartments for housing, and they have done some things here in Brawley, and I was surprised at the amount of money that they mentioned that they had provided to Brawley in the past. And so it's a real good thing. They were talking to us, Westmoreland, and Holtville. And so in that, I think we have some opportunities to do some more grants. I did get some money and get some information and met with some people that I think will assist us in the future for grants here in Brawley. Okay, so that was that. And then September 20th, I went out to the San Diego State today. We went out to the San Diego State for the check presentation for $80 million. I think that's a great thing here for Brawley. I think if that expands there, if we get some expansion out on the bypass, we're going to see some real things happening here probably in the next five years or so in those areas. And so that's really great. And as a San Diego State University graduate, and my grandson's currently up there at school in San Diego, that's always a personal plus for me, and I appreciate their efforts here in Imperial County. Also, September the 15th and 16th, I also did 2 days of Civil War presentations to the high schools, Brawley Union High School. And that was, my wife and I both went. We did Civil War presentations for them for 2 full days. Yes, we all dressed up. I was not allowed to take muskets or bayonets or sabers, but overall it went very well. I had some videos of those things, and we dressed up in uniform. The kids tried on the uniforms, real interactive. And I have a new appreciation for teachers that teach all day long, because I was pretty worn out when that was all over with. But that was a real positive to get to go to Brawley Union High School and speak to students for 2 days, and probably saw in the neighborhood of 250 students. So it was a really good time. And so with that, that's my report. And so thank you, and thank all the city staff. I see you out there every day doing all the work. And that's very, very important to our city. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to our item number 8, our city attorney report.
We'll just save it for closed session.
Okay. Thank you. And then we'll go to item number 9, closed session. Thank you all for being here. And
Thank
thank
you all.
everybody on the internet audience for being here also.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a brief 5-minute break.
Mr. Mayor, when you were presenting